And we're back with more Resident Evil 2. Lee and Strife with Claire Redfield, who's got some guns, and some flame rounds, and some ribbons, and a lighter, and zombies. So we'll go shooting some more zombies, setting them on fire. But I'm trying to think. This is gonna sound like a weird tangent, but it still has ties to what we were doing. Because we remarked in the last episode how weird the exchange with the guy from the store was. And it got me thinking about just characters I like in media in general. And this might sound like a weird thing, but I've always been more akin to female characters in media, more so than males. I'm not exactly sure why that's been the case, but like whenever I talk about characters like I have a fondness for, I always seem to go more to that side of things. And I don't know, maybe it's because of the lack of, and that's a real thing, there is a lack of representation of characters here and there. You know, I think it's slowly turned back around, but you know, for the longest time, like characters in video games and whatever weren't female. And when they were objectified and looked like shit. Or they were just fan service, you know. And I stated once that when I turned around was right around when I started playing Persona and they focused in on the social link mechanic. Because you're introducing like 20 or 30 characters in a playthrough that you get to know and talk about. And I think that's really where it started. Because I think I'm interested in those characters that are like, I would say the female characters that are like ass kickers, but aren't like snooty about it. Because there's a difference. Like, how would I describe it? Like the Samus Aran's, you know, Samus Aran, you know, just silent, but it's like she just does the thing she has to do. She just destroys things. Like 2B, like a bit of a curmudgeon sometimes, but then they show the emotion, but like they're the main character. Like there's no disputing the alternative. Like she doesn't need protecting, you know. But then again, you have other characters like a Yuna, you know, who are like her entire journey is like she grows from being weak to an extent, or being protected all the time, to basically turning into a diva and doing song and dance routines on stages and saying, "What can I do for you?" and shooting people with guns. That's a character arc.
Why does everybody keep thinking that that was Yuna?
What?
Yuna wasn't the one singing that song.
I know, that's the funny part of it. But she was still running around shooting guns and junk. But
was empowered. And she did do one concert song, but it sure as hell wasn't "What Can I Do for You."
La, 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 la,
And that's
la,
not even
la,
the name of that song either.
I know. I remember we were playing Theater Rhythm once, and you were like, "Where is that song anyway?" Like you were talking about the Japanese version of 1,000 Words, and it's like it doesn't compare to the English version. They need the English version on there, but
just
doesn't feel right.
It
does
doesn't. It really doesn't. Like the Japanese version is pretty and everything, but the rhythm is off.
Yeah.
If you listen to it in English, the words pack such a like the singer when she's singing in English, so much more emotion in it, but when she's singing in Japanese, it almost sounds happy.
Yeah. But it's also a thing like you're used to the sound that you get most, and we've always played the English version. So, and again, I've done that with like I focus on the English actors and whatever, and whenever I talk about a game or whatever, who's voicing it, because that's what language I'm using. Like if I was interested in the Japanese language or the Japanese actors, that'd be one thing, or the Japanese subtitles, it'd be fine. But you're right about the Yuna thing. It wasn't her, but it's still the image of Yuna doing it leads you to this weird expectation. And then it takes him like 2 or 3 missions in the game to show that she was just outside the concert the whole time in a Moogle outfit. But again, I have always kind of like resonated with characters when they weren't just the best at everything. Like if you don't have a character flaw, I don't know if you have a character. Or if you don't really grow into things, you don't, it's kind of like Orin. Like, Orin is awesome and everything, but I don't think he'd be so awesome if, like, he wasn't, like, understanding that Tidus is just, like, scared and doesn't know, but he's, like, Orin is, like, talking shit sometimes, but every once in a while he'll just, like, pat him on the back and give him a, like, it's okay. But then you learn his backstory like so much later, and then it all comes full circle, And we dealt with this with Final Fantasy VIII. We were like, where the fuck is all the backstory? And it was like, I had to wait forever to get it, but I finally freaking got it.
You learn playing Final Fantasy X that the reason why Tidus isn't like this useless mess of emotions. I mean, he is sometimes, but.
Yeah.
He's able to get it under control.
Yeah. And
the reason why he works as a character is because Orin has been with him his entire life, raising him and helping him grow to be able to cope with what's being expected of him now.
Yeah. And I think what's important for me when I talk about either characters or whatever, and again, it's weird because we're talking about Resident Evil here, but again, getting back to the female versus male dynamic, there is something to be said about how you approach building a character. I deal with this in D&D all the time. It's like, how do you build a character that seems fleshed out in the constraints that you have, knowing you're with 5 or 10 other people, but also making them so they don't just hog the screen time. Because especially when you're with 5 or 10 other people who have actual motivation and they're actually trying to get their points across, it's hard to just, because there's some people who just fade into the background and they're comfortable with it. Other times, and I'm guilty of this myself, and I know another person like me who wants to be the center of attention, because we think of this from a character dynamic. We think of how does our character not be the face of a party, but come across as a fully fleshed, like they have a journey, they have an arc, they have something they're fighting for. It's really easy in a game like this, or say some of the early RPGs, to just not have a story because of the limitations that were placed on them. But I don't know if that's an excuse. Because even something like, say, Phantasy Star 4, the dialogue was really, really good at the time. Because this was right when, say, not Super Mario RPG or Secret of Mana per se, but even contrasting that. Like, Secret of Mana, their characters were very boring and very dry and just didn't do anything. But the main characters and main leads of Phantasy Star 4, like, they pop off the screen as if they're movie characters, so even way back when, put some effort into the writing and you got characters that people will remember, and it can carry a game, I think, or carry a movie or carry an anime. Because I was talking about that in the Leon playthrough, is like, writing of a product is probably more important than anything you could do, because you have fancy visuals and fancy lights and fancy everything, but if the characters aren't fun to watch, then that's a big hurdle, and it's really rough. So I think that's why I'm such a stickler for people in games or characters in games that either go through an arc or at least have something to go by. It's also probably why I don't really like silent protagonists and don't like them as characters, because they really can't have a character unless you force other party members to make them a character. That's the gulf I always face whenever I do that sort of thing.
They still go through a story arc, though.
They do. Dragon Quest XI is one of the best examples of that. They turned the guy, his name's the Luminary, and it's one of those, I don't know how rare this is, but basically, like, when he's a child, he has a voice and an actor, but when he's when you're controlling him in-game, he doesn't talk. Mm-hmm. It's weird. But the game goes out of its way to, like, give them relationships with, like, every character and tell them, okay, you were this person, or you were this person, or you lived with these people, and whatever, you know. They bent over backwards to give them everything, as opposed to, like, I would say, Link? With Link, it's like, yeah, he was a Kokiri, and he might have been a whatever, you know, Ocarina of Time, maybe. But if you go into, like, say, Link to the Past or something, they're not going to put a lot of effort into turning Link. I don't know how Breath of the Wild did it, but...
Oh, Breath of the Wild had him waking up after 100 years being asleep.
Yeah.
He had been put to sleep for like 100 years to... I think he died or something, and he got put into some kind of regenerative sleep so that he could come back after 100 years and rescue Zelda from whatever.
Yeah, and I think, like, Breath of the Wild's also weird because they started giving everybody actual voice acting and voice characters, which is even weirder, because Nintendo's been very strict about not doing that unless it was absolutely necessary. Say, I can agree with on occasion. I did, but it wasn't like full-on voice acting, you know. I mean, Martinet's great and all, but I'm talking like full-on, they give them voices, they're acting out scenes almost like it's a movie, that sort of thing. As opposed to something like Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, that sort of where it's like there's no spoken dialogue, you know. So I don't know. I think silent protagonists can work, but you do have to kind of bend over backwards to make the suspension of disbelief work. I've just never been one to do that. And I think that's just a personal hang-up of mine is I need somebody to talk to me. Like, I need, like, say, Cloud to talk to me as Cloud. I don't want him to be, oh, I'm wheeling this guy with spiky hair around in a scene and everybody's talking to him like he's the crazy person or he's the best person on the planet. Like, I don't know that.
And the reason why silent protagonists work so well is because it lets the player project their person onto the character.
And I think that's where the gulf is with me, is I'm not into that at all. But for so many people, they want to.
Some people aren't, and some people really do want to imagine themselves as the main character.
I think that's fine if it's like, if you have a character creation system. If, say, you have Cloud and he didn't speak, and then you were projecting yourself onto Cloud. Like,
well,
I don't
part
look...
Of why you can rename all the characters in that too.
Yeah, that's too. As long as you don't call them Slippy Nuts or something, you know, it's a little easier to do that. Like, I get what you're saying, though, is some people want to feel like they're in this world, that they're controlling the character that they're doing. I've always felt that I wanted to be reacted to, and I think of gaming as a passive platform, more so now because they're trying to be more cinematic. If it's a game like this where there's not as much going on, or if at Castlevania, like it's easier to project that because there's not as much ingrained storytelling forcing that on people. So I guess it depends. Like I play the East games, and Adol has been voiced by the same guy for about 15 years, but all they really do is give him like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue each game. And then they'll do the weird thing, like if it's a raw moment, they'll give him like, here's a voice, yeah, you know, like a raw speech for like 5 seconds. I'm like, huh. It seems silly. And then like East 9 is the biggest one recently, and they actually had him do a dialogue with himself. So the unvoiced Adol was talking to another Adol in his mind who was actually doing spoken dialogue. It was like, that's so freaking weird. I don't know.
Well, that's because, okay, you can't use Cloud as an example of a silent protagonist, though.
I know. I'm just using it as a... I think it's whenever... because Cloud's in a weird situation because they had the relationship mechanic where, you know, early on in the game you'd have a bunch of like chosen dialogue, and you would say, if you go with Aerith, you do this. If he does, you know, but he would still like react to them according to what you said. Like,
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, there are some things where you could choose what he says, but there's plenty of scenes in that game where he has his own dialogue and his own reactions to things.
yes,
That's why I'm saying he's not a silent protagonist.
Well, I know, and I think that's a weird... I think that's what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for in a character is if you're going to give them, like, dialogue trees and dialogue choices, you are choosing the dialogue, but that character is still the one speaking. So regardless of which version of the method you choose, he is the one who's still responding. You're given agency to choose for him, but he's still going to react in that way. So you could potentially say, well, that doesn't work because Cloud could be a nice guy, or he could just be a jerk prick, you know? Oh, she's hurt. But I dealt with this in Soul Hackers too. It was the same kind of vibe as Cloud. She had fully voiced dialogue. She had a full character arc, but whenever like relationship mechanics came up, whether they were facing bosses to discuss stuff with bosses, or talk with main characters while they're out drinking or whatever, you would choose their dialogue options, but she would still be the one speaking. And for me, whenever I do silent protagonists in other games, like, say, Persona, you're given that same option. For me, I'm always like, why is Narukami always getting every single girl on the planet? He doesn't speak. But then you have people that will say, he's totally speaking, you're just not hearing it. I'm like, my brain! I'm seeing what they're seeing, but I'm not seeing it, right?
Okay, I'm gonna teach you this. Not voice acted, which he is minorly voice acted, like for cutscenes and stuff, or for fight scenes, I mean. A character not being voice acted does not mean that they don't have a voice. They do have dialogue in the game, whether it's something you choose or how they react to something. They are their own agency. It's not just they're there to be blank. That's why people will sit there and say, like, they have a voice, you're just not seeing it. It's because, yeah, maybe they don't have voice acting in the game, but they still have some kind of... They still have a voice, even if they're not voice acted. They've still got a role in the game. They've still got opinions, even if, and you get to choose them. Okay, heading for the other diamond door.
I'm trying to think. The last thing I'd say on that is, and maybe this is phrased as more as a question. I think that would be the best way to go about it. Say, for instance, the character is in the dialogue with everybody else, and everybody's talking around them. And that character is the leader of the group because he is the main character. What he's saying to the group without dialogue is the raw speech or whatever dialogue you're selecting for him. Is it a thing where, because I'm not seeing him say that and I'm not seeing the text say it directly, I'm just not inferring that he himself is I'm the go-getter, I'm the adventurer, I'm the best character, or I'm the, silent but strong type. Like, I'm not seeing that character come across because they aren't the one saying the words that are on the screen.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, because he's voicing it with his hands or something, I'm not seeing what everybody else is projecting themselves onto. That's probably that's what I wanted to get across, I think.
That's why a lot of people are like, the character is there, a lot of it is what you get from the information around you in the game. Like, Tifa saying Cloud was always such a thoughtful person. You learn that through their backstory. Or like Joker in P5 having a personality and socializing with everybody. Half of the time you're picking his dialogue, you're choosing who he socializes with, and your actions are forming their opinions of him. And how they react to him. You're choosing all of that. You're choosing his personality. So a lot of that is how you choose to do it.
Okay, so because I'm waiting for the game, because I'm taking a passive perspective on this, I'm waiting for the game to give him a character that isn't coming because I'm supposed to be giving him the character and inferring his character from everybody else's dialogue.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's what's going on here.
Yep. A lot of times, if you think a character doesn't have a personality, it's because you're not giving it.
I could see that.
Like the silent protagonists, you kind of have to, you fill in their personality based on what's going on in the game. Oh, excuse me. Breath.
And again, I'm not trying to make this sound like this is like one side is right, one side is wrong kind of thing. I'm using this as kind of a discussion point. Because it is something that you can't really do in a text format or anything like that. It's easier to do it with somebody actually, talking back and forth through, because that is the thing I've seen is the projecting someone's opinions into the game, and it might be a difference of like what games I've responded to and what I prefer, because I don't know if we ever had, because way back when silent protagonists were a thing, we didn't have cinematic cutscenes. We didn't have the stuff that we have now where it's like almost like a movie at this point.
Speaking of cutscenes, we're about to have one.
Aha. So yay. Nice little discussion before a cutscene. Yay.
Let's meet someone who definitely is not a silent anything.
Oh, is it that guy? It's totally that guy, isn't it? Oh.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were another one of those zombies.
Are you Chief Iron?
Yes, that's me. And just who are you? No, don't bother telling me. It makes no difference. You'll end up just like... That's the mayor's daughter. I was told to look after her, but I failed. Just look at her. She was a true beauty. Her skin nothing short of... But
Creep.
it will soon putrefy and she will turn
He was
into a
saying that
zombie
her,
within
her
the
skin
hour.
was nothing short of perfection.
There must be some way to stop.
In a manner of speaking, there is. Either by putting a bullet through her brain, or by decapitating her. And to think that taxidermy used to be my hobby. But no longer. Please.
No longer.
I'd really like to be alone.
I bet you'd like to be alone, you creep.
Do we take the body away from him?
I wish we could.
Yeah. I don't trust this guy. And yes, we find out later this guy is even weirder than you think.
Oh, it's not even that much later.
I know, it's disgusting. Because we talked about what the lengths of a certain game will go to make a character certain and be interesting. And yeah, this game, a little, eh. My weird muffled screams probably gave away what I thought about this guy.
Here's Secretary's Diary beat, which is not in the last game. Which was not in Leon's scenario.
Ah, here we go.
June 8th. As I was straightening up the chief's room, he burst through the door with a furious look on his face. It's only been 2 months since I've started working here, but that's the second time I've seen him like this. The last time was when I bumped into that statue, only this time he looked even more agitated than ever. I seriously thought for a moment that he was going to hurt me. June 15th. I finally discovered what the chief had been hiding all along. If he finds out that I know, my life will be in serious danger. It's getting late already. I'm just going to have to take this one day. Guessing this shit didn't work for that state.
Wait. Let me go! Easy, easy there. I'm not a zombie. You're safe now. Leon, come in. I found the girl, and I've cleared the wreckage that was blocking the...
Got it.
My name's Claire. What's yours?
Sherry.
Do you know where your parents are?
They both work at the Umbrella Chemical Plant, near the city.
The chemical plant? Then, what are you doing here?
My mom called and told me to go to the police station because it was too dangerous to...
From the look of things, I'd say she was probably right. But it's
Yeah,
dangerous as well.
it's bad.
But there's something out there. I don't know what it is, but I saw it. Much larger than any of those zombies. And it's coming...
What was that?
That's what I was telling you about. It's here.
Sherry, wait!
What the heck he wanted... What message he sent me so bad.
Hooray, more first aid spray.
Uh-huh.
I'll spray it on Chief Irons if he tries to grab at me.
Why heal him?
I don't know. I'd imagine first aid spray still works as a thing that would burn his eyes out. Yes, I totally just said that.
Maybe.
Oh.
Chief?
Yep.
Oh,
We shouldn't.
I should have brought those stones that I have with.
Yeah, we shouldn't. We shouldn't have left the body. Damn it. God, this guy has such a weird taste in art.
September 23rd. It's all over. Those imbeciles from Umbrella have finally done it. Despite all their promises, they've ruined my town. Soon the streets will be infested with zombies. I'm beginning to think that I may even be infected myself. I'll kill everyone in town if this turns out to be true. September 24th. I was successful in spreading confusion among the police as planned. I've made sure that no one from the outside will be able to help. With the delays in police actions, no one will have the chance to escape my city alive. I've seen to it personally that all escape routes from inside the precinct have been cut off as well. There are several survivors still attempting to escape through the lower levels, but I'll make sure no one gets out. September 26th. I've had a change of heart about the remaining survivors inside the precinct. I've decided to hunt them down myself. I shot Ed in the back through the heart less than an hour ago. I watched him writhe in pain on the floor in a pool of his own blood. The expression on his face was positively He died with his eyes wide open, staring up at me. It was beautiful. I wonder if the mayor's daughter is still alive. I could let her escape so I could enjoy hunting her down later. I'm going to enjoy my new trophy. Frozen forever in the pose I choose to give her. I think I got a little too into that.
A little.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean it's perfectly fine. I love being villains and dialogue. It's useful. All right.
At least it didn't sound like the chief was a cute, teeny bopping little girl.
Hi, I'm gonna kill you. Yeah.
Like Noah. Like, oh my god, Vaughn, I'm gonna kill him!
You know what? Noah would probably accidentally do that.
Never know. Nah, she's too cute.
Like, what's a bad man? I don't know. I hate bad men.
Yeah.
I'm a damn.
Vaughn, what's a pimp? It's the funniest fucking thing ever.
And she just goes and drop kicks a dude drinking at a bar.
Oh, I hate pimps. She's so freaking funny. I love her. It's just that she's so innocent. She's just so innocent and unlearned in the ways of the world.
Yet she had the best character arc in the whole game, and it wasn't even close.
She matured so much. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't maybe not matured, but
Yeah.
it kept her youthful enthusiasm throughout the whole game, because the whole game only took place in the span of a few weeks. Or a couple of months.
Yeah, it's always weird because you can never tell how long a certain game is going to be. Because sometimes they'll make it overt and they'll say within a span of whatever the thing is going to happen. Other times it's just like, no, a month has happened. You just didn't see it. They're dead now.
That one is. Well, like when Sanji attacked Realm with Juggernaut. That was like, I think, a week.
Ah! Hey, dog.
Ah! Good fucking god.
Ah, dogs. Ow.
There, now I'm fine again.
Yay.
Alright, let's go over this way and do the power thing. Oh, actually, wait. I think this is a good spot to stop it.
All right. Yeah, because we're 35 minutes. Okay, so we made it downstairs. Claire has a bow gun, and it does damage. So we'll keep using it next time.